Hi, Hornets. It's good to see you all again this afternoon, and thank you for joining in. I just want to share a few things with you as we kick things off this afternoon, and then we have some other folks who will be on with you to address some other issues or to answer questions that you may have. You know, this is such a warm day, unseasonably warm. But if you've been looking ahead, you may have noticed that we might also get just a sprinkling of snow early next week. Such strange weather, but I do hope you have a chance to get out today and enjoy the warm weather before it turns in the next few hours on us. A few things that I think are important to cover. Number one, let me just note that our provost, David Cordell, has announced his intentions to retire at the end of this academic year. And I have loved working with David over the last few years, and I know many of you share that sentiment as well. In fact, our general counsel stuck his head in the office this morning and said he was thinking of filing an injunction to prohibit David from retirement. But in truth, while we're sad to see David go, we realize that the time is right and that he has some family obligations, and he and Pam will be greatly, greatly missed. Related to that, of course, is the fact that as an institution, we'll be doing a search for that incredibly important position. Over the last few weeks, I've had the opportunity to work with Ray Lauber from Human Resources and with the leaders of the various shared governance groups to work out what that process will look like. And we'll be sharing quite a bit more additional information with you in the next couple of weeks. But in a nutshell, we'll have a search committee. It will have around 15 members, and the shared governance groups will play a role in selection of those members. The hope would be that we can be bringing finalists to campus by early spring and have someone in place, ideally before David is retired. So, you know, while we're sad to see David go, I also know that we have great people here at Emporia State, and those who will serve on our search committee will do a really good job. It will be a national search, and our plan is to use a firm to help us with some of the mechanics of placing ads and reviewing the early submissions that come in for that very important role. We've got a few topics that we're going to cover with you today. We'll talk about testing. We'll talk about some of the services that are available for you over Thanksgiving break. And then we'll, of course, as we always do, open it up for some questions that you may have. And with that, I'm going to turn it over now to Jim Williams to talk a little bit about COVID testing. Dr. Williams.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Couple of things I wanted to highlight for you all. You should have all received on Tuesday a communication from the university, from the fall planning group, that is outlining a new opportunity for faculty and staff. And the gist of this is, having worked through a number of different things, we want to be able to offer to faculty and staff who feel that they may be symptomatic some testing with our rapid testing program that's happening in the health center. I'm going to refer everybody back to that message that came out, because there's a number of associated details on the how-to access that opportunity. But this has taken a lot of energy and effort on the part of our colleagues in HR, our colleagues in the health center, to organize this in a manner in which we can offer this option to our faculty and staff. And so we're very excited to have that as one more resource available. I know Dr. Valente announced it in Faculty Senate, and again, we're really excited that this is an opportunity. That kicks off Monday. And so hopefully our goal is no one has to use it or feels the need to use it. But if you do, it's one more resource that's a little bit more immediate for the faculty and staff. I am excited to report the last 2 mass testings that we have done of our general student population. Our results have been 1 positive asymptomatic student. And so our most recent round last 2 weeks ago was close to 380 students. And prior to that, we were close to 170 students. And so we're very excited that is what the testing is finding. We have another round of testing coming up next week, next Wednesday and Thursday. And we have added slots to that testing, anticipating that given the timing and where it falls within the proximity to the end of the semester and such, we probably will test around 500 students. Again, the sign up is going out. I believe it went out this morning. It's first come, first serve. And so if you hear students talking about that, that's very encouraging. There's been a couple of questions about the testing we're using and how we are using and why we're using the testing, particularly if a student in the saliva test has tested positive for COVID in the past. The question is correct. There's about a 3-month window where that individual shed antibodies, and that will test and show as a positive COVID test. Before we went into this process, anticipating and knowing that that would happen, we do have a protocol that's in place that the students go through and they answer questions about their COVID history. And if they answer yes, that they have been diagnosed with COVID in the past, then they are automatically pushed out of the ability to sign up for one of those tests. And again, I go back and we look and our checks and balances has been the number of positive tests that screening has articulated, one, over those 2 screening periods. That's not the same test that we're using in the health center. The health center test that we're using is a very advanced test. It's the top test. And that is, again, in 15-minute increment testing for the COVID virus, particularly if students are symptomatic. And that is the test that we will use with faculty. So I wanted to clear that up, that we entered into the whole testing protocol understanding the science behind it and working with our colleagues in biology, are conscious about the fact that that test could shed antibodies. And I will tell you, I receive a number of requests from students constantly that says, I did test positive 3 or 4 weeks ago or such. I'm not going to take that test. And it's absolutely the students know as well. So I hope that clears up some questions. There was some confusion that there might be in the testing aspects. Finally, I am as tired as everybody else, but I got to say it again. Mask up, stand 6 feet away from each other, and continue to use that hand sanitizer. I think that we have been successful because we have really committed to that as a campus. If you look at the national news, if you're following anything that's happening, it's blowing up again. And every single health professional and scientist is articulating these are going to be a rough next 6 to 8 weeks with what potentially is called the second wave. And so understanding that we're all fatigued and such, we need to continue to do everything we can so that folks don't have to go through the disease. We as a family have a child who is the healthiest, very, very athletic, very involved, and has spent 10 days in a hotel by herself, 8 hours away, absolutely miserable because she contracted it in the bath facilities at the university she attends. And she would be the first to tell you she didn't really think masks and things were important. And having gone through what it feels like to have COVID in what most would consider a rather milder side of the case, she would not wish it on her worst enemy. So whatever we can do to continue to pull our bootstraps up and slap those face underpants on our face and move forward, let's continue to do that. And finally, I continue to work with faculty, and thank you to the support you're providing students and the conversations you're having with students. It's a very different time, and it has absolutely not gone unnoticed with the folks in our division on all of the efforts and things that you're doing above and beyond in just the livelihood of our students and staff. And that's why Emporia State is the institution it is. So thank you all for that. And I think I pass it on to Shelley.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. So I will echo what he said. Thank you everyone for doing your safety, your masks, your sanitizing. We are over halfway done, and it is awesome that we are still on campus. So we've had a few people ask questions about what happens after Thanksgiving, what is open, what's not open. And it's key to remember that after Thanksgiving, campus is still open. All the buildings are still open and we're functioning as an institution. It's just that the classes have gone online. So for example, in the Teachers College, the Resource Center will be open. The Learning Center will be open with tutors available through finals week. The 24/7 locations across campus, like the Visser Atrium, they will all still be open. Math lab, writing lab, they are doing things virtually, but they are still available for students after Thanksgiving. In the library commons will be open with the regular holiday exceptions. And there's actually an updated schedule out on the library's link so you can learn about when they're open after Thanksgiving, but librarians will be available by Zoom appointment and the curbside delivery will still be happening. So that's at emporia.edu/library. And then of course, ACEs. ACEs will be still functioning and helping students to be successful right to the very end, but it will be the walk-in tutors and you can learn how to sign up for that on the ACES Canvas site. So we're very excited that we're still on campus here together, and thank you everyone for everything you're doing. I know this is a very strange semester, and with that, I'll turn it over to Gwen.
Thank you, Shelley. So before I introduce to you everybody that's on the call, I want to remind you how you can answer or how you can send us questions. If you go out on the internet to emporia.edu/live, this event is the first event on that page, and you can click the button Submit Questions. You have a Google form to fill out, and those populate a spreadsheet that we are receiving questions in real time. So please, if you've got questions, go ahead and submit those. And now let me remind you who's on the call with us. You've already heard from President Allison Garrett, from Dr. Jim Williams, the Vice President for Student Affairs, and Dr. Shelley Gerke, the Assistant Provost for Enrollment Management and Academic Success. We also have David Cordell, our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Diana Coleman, Vice President for Administration and Finance, Kelly Hine, Chief Marketing Officer, Corey Faldine, Associate Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer, Ray Lauber, Director of Human Resources, Kent Weiser, Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Sandy Valenti, President of the Faculty, and Brenda Kerner, First Vice President of the Faculty, Oswald Allen, Chief Diversity Officer, and me, Gwen Larson, Director of Media Relations. So we are going to jump right into questions. And a first question that I have, I'm actually going to give to President Garrett. And that question is, can these forums be scheduled at various times? This person has a class that lasts until 3:20 on Thursdays, and by then we're almost done.
Well, that is a great question. And let me just say to whomever submitted that question, I am sorry that these are scheduled at a time when you cannot participate in person. One thing that we have tried to do to make sure that those who can't watch the live version is to make sure that you do have the ability to submit questions. And then we do always tape these. And so if you'll be watching your Hornet announcements, you will see a link so that if you want to watch it, then you'll be able to do that in the next few days. You know, the reality is finding a single time that works for every single person is just impossible. But we are trying to accommodate others who may teach at this time by making sure that it's taped. And again, you can still submit questions, and you should feel free to do that. And you'll then see that on the recording in a day or two. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This next question, I'm going to direct to Dr. Williams because it does involve a financial aid sort of question. The question, Dr. Williams, is for students who missed the deadline to register for COVID funds last semester, when will the application open again?
Okay, good question. Right now, with the COVID funding, there is a little bit of a nuance that's an issue with the Department of Education. We have a little bit of funding left from the last distribution that happened last semester. The nuance is that the Department of Education regulations on distributing the COVID funding require the funding go to someone who was disrupted in their current academic program by the campus closure as it relates to COVID-19. And so the challenge has been getting authorization from the Department of Ed on how we can distribute to those funds to students in this current semester, because this current semester has not been institutionally disrupted by COVID-19. I can report that the emergency application process is now been shifted back to the foundation to go through the Student Foundation Fund. But all of those applications are being reviewed by the Office of Financial Aid. And if there is an opportunity for financial aid to step in first, then they are working with those students on those needs. I'm going to chat with our Director of Financial Aid and see what the situation is, make sure that there is some clear communication on the website about where we're at in that process and about the application that's been referred to, because honestly, that's something I need to follow up with and get a little more understanding on and look through. So long and short of it is we're working with the Department of Ed. I know that there was a system-wide financial aid directors meeting yesterday on the national level, and they did not get answers from the Department of Ed. And so they have stepped it up a little bit in trying to get those answers. The funding, again, though, has to be tied to some type of a disruption relevant to COVID-19. So we'll look and see what the website needs to be updated on to make sure it's being clear and communicating. I appreciate that question, and hopefully we'll have some good news for folks here in the near future.
Right, thank you. Our next question I'm going to ask of Ray Lauber. This is a question about campus closing for winter break. We know that all classes are going remote after Thanksgiving, but Ray, the question is, will COVID-19 adjustments have any impact on the date when campus closes for our winter break?
You know, I think that that's a question we've all been contemplating and asking ourselves. We're actually in conversation about the semester break. We've got a few more details to hammer out, but we're getting closer to being able to share that schedule, hopefully before too long. So keep your eyes peeled, because we're like I said, we're hoping to have that information out before too much longer.
Okay. Dr. Williams, we have a new question that's come in, and it is talking about the active cases on campus. The question is, will you please kindly state how many active COVID-19 cases there are on campus now? And I thought it would help while you're answering this, I will try to share my screen and show the dashboard that we actually put up on the website every Friday, and that might help you explain. So I'm gonna try that right now.
All right. All right, so if you look at the dashboard, quick walk through, the top line, the 41, the 8, and the 33, that's the number of students that presented last week in the health center with symptoms. So you can see we had 41 that presented with what we considered COVID symptoms that warranted us saying, yes, we should test you in our rapid test. Out of that, there were 8 positive. If you look at the next line, that's the total since we started in on August, counting those the week of August 17th. So we've had 320 folks present with symptoms that we have tested. We've got 54 that were positive cases at some point during this semester. The second gray blocks are those that we call the group testing, the bulk athletic testing we're doing, the bulk testing we're doing of the campus, et cetera. The last day of our round of testing was 178, and that's where we had that one case that came in our last 2-week block testing. And so as you can see, we've tested 1,045 group random testing, so to speak, and we've had 19 cases articulated in that. So total for the campus, we've had 1,365 tests with 73 positive cases. As of last Friday, we had 8 students that were counted by Lyon County as active cases in our, quote, cluster, which does reflect the number of 73. That cluster keeps growing, and we will continue to be a cluster until we have 0 active cases in that cluster. As of this morning, the data I saw showed that we had, I believe, 5 active cases still in that cluster of 73. These numbers will be updated around 1, 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon to reflect at that point what is the active cases again, and then what was the testing review for the week. So right now we're looking at 5 active cases.
Thank you. And for those of you that want to check that dashboard, you can go to the home page of our website and go to click the button that says COVID-19 information. And on the front page of our COVID-19 information, you will see another box that says COVID-19 dashboard, and that will take you right to that page that has that graphic on it.
I am going to do one clarification on that active case number. That's here in Lyon County. We may have students at satellite programs such as Butler or Kansas City, Kansas, or Johnson County, Kansas, that would not reflect in our active caseload numbers. That is just physically here in Lyon County as reported through the Lyon County Health Department.
All right. I believe right now, those are all the questions we have had submitted. I'm going to give you some more time to submit questions while I share a few announcements. Students, please remember to sign up for the screening testing, the email that went out this morning, and there will be a reminder email go out, I believe, early next week. When you do that and you take that screening test, you do have a chance to win a $500 scholarship for the spring semester. I am checking our questions again. I am not seeing any new questions. So I am going to hand this back to President Garrett for some final words.
Okay, thank you, Gwen. I wanted to actually conclude today by sharing thank yous to all of you, students, our faculty and staff, because really when you look at everything that has happened here at Emporia State this fall, we've had an extraordinary semester. And I know for some of you, perhaps you're not interacting a great deal with people affiliated with other higher ed institutions, but I can tell you based on what I know, we have so much to be proud of. And I want to share just briefly an email I got, and I'll redact it because it's kind of long, but an email I got on Monday, and some of you have seen this. It comes from the parent of one of our students. The student is a sophomore, and she says, I would like to thank the entire ESU team for your COVID response efforts. She's worked in higher ed for much of her career. She says affordability and the quality of a program he was interested in were major factors in her son choosing Emporia State. And she went on to say that he was home last weekend and he is thriving. All but one of his classes are actually in person. He is happy. And she says, I've monitored the case counts in Lyon and her home county for months. And quote, I could not be more impressed with the efforts of ESU to create a safe environment for students to get back to class. I know this is a top-down effort and ESU has outshined, she lists another institution, hands down. And she says, because I know this took hard work and extreme inventiveness on the part of every Emporia State employee, I wanted to share my gratitude with you in the hopes that you can share it with your staff. I took my young man back to Emporia today, and I feel that he is safer and happier there than in his hometown. Your team deserves a huge distanced hug for recognizing what needed to be done and successfully pulling it off. And I absolutely cannot thank them enough. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. You know, this fall semester for faculty, staff, for students has not been what any of us would think of as the ideal fall semester. But considering everything that is going on, I'm in that mother's camp. I am so impressed by everything that every one of you has done to make this a great semester. So thank you for everything that you've done this semester. We've got just a few more weeks, but I know it'll be a great few weeks. Thank you so much.